So you know the Indian Constitution is the longest in the world, right? It's the very foundation of this huge democracy. But if it's so solid, why has it been changed more than 100 times? Let's get into that. Okay, let's just dive right in. And this number, wow, it's pretty striking. In just 74 years since it came into effect, the Constitution of India has been amended a staggering 106 times. That's more than one amendment for every single year of its existence. And a number that high, well, it actually makes you wonder, right? Is the Constitution somehow flawed? Or, and this is what we're going to explore, could all this change actually be its biggest strength? So, to get to the bottom of this, we're going to break it all down into 5 key sections. This will give you a really clear, structured way to understand this whole topic, especially for your exams. All right, first up, let's unpack those numbers. Why does a count of 106 amendments even spark so much debate? What's the big deal? Okay, now, before we even start looking at the amendments themselves, it's super important to understand something. Changing the Constitution? It's not easy. In fact, the framers made it difficult on purpose. You could almost think of it as running an amendment gauntlet. So for the really big amendments, the ones that touch the core federal structure, it's a 2-step process. First, you need what's called a special majority in Parliament. That means you need support from 2/3 of the members who are present and voting. But that's not all. Then that amendment has to go out to the states and get approved by the legislatures of at least half of them. This double hurdle system makes sure any huge change has really broad support.
Okay, so if it's such a tough process, why on earth have there been over 100 changes? Well, the secret lies in understanding what kind of changes we're talking about. We can actually sort all 106 amendments into 3 main buckets.
First up, a whole bunch of these amendments are just technical updates. You can think of them like software patches for your phone. They clarify some language or make small administrative tweaks. For example, one amendment changed the retirement age for high court judges from 60 to 62. Yeah, it's an important adjustment, but it doesn't fundamentally change the principles of the Constitution, you know?
Now, the second category, this one comes from a kind of constitutional tug-of-war. Sometimes Parliament and the Judiciary see the Constitution in 2 totally different ways. When that happens, Parliament might pass an amendment to say, hey, this is what the text means, making its interpretation the official one. It's basically a way to settle the debate. And finally, our third type of amendment. This is what happens when pretty much all the political parties agree that a change needs to be made. These amendments usually reflect how society itself is changing, like that historic decision to lower the voting age from 21 all the way down to 18. I mean, that brought millions of young people into the democratic process. But here's the thing, these amendments didn't just appear out of nowhere. Their history's super political, reflecting all the power struggles and moments of agreement from different times. Just take a look at this chart. You can see right away that the pace of amendments isn't steady at all. See those huge spikes in the 1970s and 80s? The 70s were dominated by one party, so a lot of amendments were pushed through based on their agenda. But then in the 80s and 90s, you had more coalition governments. So the amendments passed then, like lowering the voting age, often came from a much broader political agreement.
Now, the most intense, and without a doubt the most controversial period of constitutional change happened during the national emergency, which was declared back in 1975. This was a time when a series of amendments were passed that really challenged the basic structure of the Constitution itself.
And this timeline, wow, it shows a constitutional battle playing out right before our eyes. In 75 and 76, during the emergency, controversial amendments like the 42nd were just pushed through. But look what happens right after. A new government gets elected in 1977, and literally their first priority is to pass the 43rd and 44th Amendments to undo most of what had just been done.
This comparison really lays out 2 completely opposing visions for the Constitution. The 42nd Amendment was basically an attempt to make Parliament the supreme power over everyone else. The 44th Amendment was a direct slapback, designed to restore that original balance of power and protect democratic principles.
So, okay, we've looked at the types of amendments, the tough process to pass them, and all the controversies. What's the final verdict here? Is the Indian Constitution flawed just because it's been amended so many times?
Well, the answer is actually pretty clear. That high number of amendments, it's not a sign of weakness at all. In fact, it's proof that the Constitution is alive and kicking. It's been able to adapt to new situations, different social challenges, and shifting political realities. That's what has kept it relevant for more than 70 years. All right, so let's quickly recap the key takeaways for your exam. First, remember amendments come in 3 main flavors: technical, interpretational, and consensus-based. Second, the process to amend is tough for a reason. Third, politics plays a massive role in how often amendments happen. And finally, and this is the big one, this flexibility is the Constitution's greatest strength. It's what keeps it a living, breathing document.
And there you have it, our deep dive into the amendments. Now, this was part 2 of our series on this chapter, so to really master this topic, make sure you check out the other parts too.
We really hope this explainer helped make things clearer for you. If it did, help us out. Make your exam prep phenomenal by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the A1 Institute YouTube channel for more content just like this.